Good evening, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Did you know that the average American child spends 4 to 7 minutes a day outside and then 7 hours behind a screen? And the biggest YouTuber in the world right now, Mr. Beast, is going to be exposing your child to transgenderism. All that and more coming up on the Narrow. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you're joining us on Facebook, we would love for you to hit that like button, hit the share button, and leave us a comment down below. We love interacting with you. Every week we'll have someone down there doing that. And if you're joining us on Rumble, thank you.
Woohoo.
This is new for us. We've just started on Rumble, so we would love for you to kind of start migrating over to Rumble is what we're gearing up for, is to eventually go live on Rumble instead of Facebook, because on Rumble they're stating that they're going to keep free speech alive, and so we definitely want to join up with people like that. And so if you're on Rumble, it's you hit the Rumble button, which looks like a thumb, and then you hit the follow. So go ahead and do that for us. And then if you're new and you haven't heard about Rumble, you can search it out in the App Store. This is what it looks like. And you can download the app, and then you can get notifications every time that we have a video on there.
Awesome.
So as you can see, it's Jake and I that are live tonight. I don't know how they keep letting us
I don't know.
in here. This is so scary. But I'm Sarah. This is Jake.
Hi.
Just in case you didn't know. So it's not Pastor Craig tonight on the Narrow. It's us. And so we were trying to come up with something that we could talk about tonight, and something that I think is really big and lots of people are talking about, which honestly I was kind of shocked because a big conservative voice on YouTube, Matt Walsh, he came out and said that he doesn't allow his kids to have cell phones, and he doesn't allow them on YouTube or social media, and he also only lets them watch TV shows that don't annoy him.
Right.
Which I'm like, yeah, thank you. But then what I was shocked about was there were so many people that were kind of in an uproar over this statement, and they were like, how can you keep your kids from having cell phones, and now you're not letting them on social media, and this is horrible, and you're a terrible father. And I was like, what?
What are you keeping them from?
Yeah, what are you keeping them from?
Right.
Because in our house we have the same thing going on. So we thought, well, let's open up about how we're parenting when it comes to social media and cell phones, because it's definitely something that we've been discussing since we had Owen, who's our first kid.
Mm-hmm.
We have 4 kids ranging from 12 to 3 years old. So a wide range of ages, and definitely kids in there that wish they had a cell phone.
At least one or two.
At least 1 or 2. Can I have a cell phone? And so we've had many conversations over the years of how we were going to parent our kids when it came to cell phones and social media. And then just a quick side note, we were raised when social media was just becoming a thing.
MySpace.
We were still chatting on like AOL.
Yep.
So cell phones and social media weren't too huge. I actually didn't have a cell phone until I was 18 years old. I shared one with my mom if I had to like go out, and she thought that she would have to get a hold of me, but it was a flip phone. No social media. So I didn't have that growing up at all. What'd you have?
I was probably closer to the other side. Got a phone when I was like 14.
Nice.
It was a flip phone too, though.
It was,
For
yeah.
quite a while. Yeah, for the first few years, really.
So it was really just calling and texting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 98% calling. I mean, text were not a huge
Yeah, it
deal.
really wasn't a thing. Well, and it took forever for us to text, right? Because we
Yeah,
had
you
to go
only had
through all,
9 keys.
had
Yeah.
to go through all the letters. I got so fast at that, though.
Yeah.
It was really fast. So that's kind of how we were raised. And then, so when it came time for us to have kids, now social media is huge. And hearing that study that we were talking about in the beginning, when I heard that it was like 4 to 7 minutes that they were spending outside a day, I was like, whoa, 4 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's not like on the way from the bus to the house or
I mean, literally, there's kids who
wow.
walk home. That takes like 5 minutes. That's most of their time outside.
Goodness.
So I was kind of floored. And then to know that it was like 7 hours behind a screen. And you know, there's kids who do far more than that,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to like video games. There's kids who play those for hours a day. So I was just kind of like saddened by that. And I was also saddened by the response that somehow parents thought that this was like a horrible thing to keep your kids off of social media and from having cell phones. So we thought we would just talk about kind of how we're going to parent our kids. And that we've been very open and honest with them since they've been young. So we have this conversation all the time. I just had it literally like 2 days ago that, hey, you know, you won't have a phone
Yeah.
till you're like way older, and it'll literally just be like a flip phone,
Right.
basically. But that sounds funny, but we also want to give you like tools and resources of kind of what we'll be using. So when it comes to social media, our kids have tablets, but they're what are they from? Amazon?
There's Amazon Fire tablets.
Yeah, Fire tablets. And so those allow us to have like really good parental controls.
Yeah.
And so we've got them really locked down, and they're not allowed to be on the internet or YouTube. We completely took that off because that was an option to have it a kids YouTube on the tablet, and we said no, absolutely not.
Right.
So we don't think they're smart enough to even prevent things from happening on kids YouTube.
No way.
There's been stories of stuff that's happened on there, and so we didn't even want to risk it. Plus, I hate the term like influencers because it's so true, and I didn't want our kids being influenced by anyone but us and Christ. So that was a big deal for us. So we make sure that we're constantly checking them, making sure there's no doorway for them to find something or get on something. And we look at the games that they download. And then if they do use an iPad, it sends all the information to my phone. So I could see if they were to download an app, it would pop up on my phone. So that's a rare occasion, and they only have that option really when they're like by us. So the apps are limited and they don't have access to internet. When it comes to a cell phone, so as of right now, our kids use what's called Gizmo watches. They're through Verizon. So that is basically just calling and very simple texts.
Pre-written.
Yeah.
Like we've given them 15
What they
pre-written
can say.
texts and say, "Can you please come get me? You know, I love you." All the
Yeah, yes,
things we
no,
want to hear
okay.
from them.
Yeah. So we picked out what we kind of want to hear in answers, and we stuck those.
Here's your only contacts. Here's your only messages you can send to those contacts.
Yes. So the contacts that are in there are approved by us. We have to actually put them in through our parental controls. So they can't just be in contact with anybody. So that's what we use as of right now. But realistically, especially with our oldest, he's about to, he's going to be a teenager next year. He'll eventually be going out into the world by himself. And so we've talked about, well, what are we going to do then? There are cell phones that are available now through companies where there's a lot of control over what they can and cannot do on them. Like, what's one of the companies?
One we've been looking at is a Bark, BARK. It's a standard Samsung phone, but they've loaded a system on it that enables you full control over all the apps, all the features.
Yeah.
They don't download anything without you knowing. You can lock it down as far as you want, and then as they grow, you can open it up a little bit more if you want.
Yeah. So with trust, and we understand that they've matured and understand like the risks that come with it. But also the reason why is because kids are so addicted to their phones.
Yeah.
And it is greatly impacting their mental health. on top of it. Like it's we'll be putting links down below. Everything that we talk about we always put down below, because we don't want to just be spouting stuff here. We want you to know we're getting factual stuff, so don't worry, we'll have the links to those and you can look them up yourself and research. But I mean, there's been plenty of research that has shown that it causes anxiety and depression in kids. The more that they're on social media and on their phones, we hear all the time terrible stories of online bullying that kids have experienced. It's like so tragic. And the amount of kids that have committed suicide because of stuff that has happened on their social media, it just really breaks your heart. And I always wonder why. Like, why was it so necessary for that child to have a cell phone?
Yeah.
I just...
And it's always, well, I didn't want little Timmy to miss out. I wanted him to be like the other kids.
Since when are we raising our kids to be like other kids?
Yeah. The opposite.
I think too is like as parents we're falling into that. So like we're wanting to be cool like the other parents. So you're doing the same thing as your child, thinking that like, oh, I can't keep them from that because what will people say? I really don't care when it comes to our kids. We're going to parent how we want to parent, and you parent how you want to parent.
How you feel led, yeah.
Yeah, however you feel led. We just think that this is very important for our kids to learn at a young age that to go outside, have fun, be adventurous, and use their imagination and become independent outside. Not live in a world on their cell phones all the time.
Just so unhealthy to be able to pull this device out of your pocket and just get an instant dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
Just to get this short term a high, essentially. It's, you know, what you should be getting from being outside or doing productive work, or
Yeah.
you know, but our society has corrupted it.
I know, and they've made it out like it's really important to have a cell phone and have social media. You have to have it, but kind of have to ask yourself, like, why? Why do you need social media? Why do you need your cell phone? Ask yourself, too, are you addicted? There was a survey that was done, and teenagers admitted on the survey that they felt like they were addicted to their cell phones, and that 78% of them were checking it every single hour.
Yeah.
We have a lot
I'd
of...
say it's far more than that now.
It probably is, but
I mean,
that was one study.
How often, I think I catch myself too, like, why did I just look at it?
Yeah, you'll be
You know,
there.
what was I checking?
Yeah, we all do it.
But it's this need that we've been programmed.
It's true. And a lot of people have like a fear of missing out. And they think like, oh, if I'm not on social media, I'm missing out. And we've just decided in our home, we want our kids to find enjoyment in other things. That also means we're limiting like TV time and just like having family time that's more productive than that. You know, getting to know one another, playing games, doing things outside, you know, take your kids outside and touch some grass, as they say. You know, I had the kids out last night pulling weeds with me, and even the 3-year-old thought it was fun. So
Yeah, I think what was eye-opening for our kids probably a year and a half ago now. Before we had locked down technology so much, I had showed them on the iPad they were playing on. Said, here's the battery usage. Here's how much this app has been open. And it was the YouTube Kids or something. Said, here's how many hours in the last week you guys have been on this app. And they're like, no, that's not right. So, technology doesn't make it up.
timing you.
You know, look how many hours this was. Whoa.
Yeah, it was eye-opening for them too.
Yeah, and then I asked them a few days after that, how many hours you spent in the last week, you think? You know, kind of see if they had any awareness of it. Still really didn't, you know, because it gets away from you. This stuff's designed to waste your time.
Yeah, it really does, with like the meaningless like scrolling forever. And we also decided on they have Nintendo Switches. We decided on there we would set a time limit because they weren't realizing how much time they were spending on there. And then they realized when that bell goes off, whoa,
Yeah.
I've been on here for like an hour. And so
I think some parents feel like that's cruel or something, but you're a parent.
yeah,
You get to make the rules.
yes.
And little Timmy's probably not going to like it, but you have to decide what's best.
Yeah, I think that's why biblically too in the Bible it says train up a child in the way that they should go. Literally train up your child in the way they
Yeah,
should go.
training's not comfortable.
No, it's not to train for anything. And then it says they won't depart from it when they're older. That's what we're here for. We're not here to be cool or like every parent. And again, we're not saying this to like, make people feel bad. Again, you need to parent in the way that you feel led. We just thought that this was important in our household, and honestly was just shocked by, Matt Walsh's thing when it came out. And I was like, how are people this upset about kids not having cell phones?
It's just we've become so indoctrinated.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I know we've,
And the companies that are selling these platforms
yes.
are playing into it, of course.
Oh, yeah. And we realize we say this from a social media platform.
Right.
And so that's funny too. Yeah, I mean, even as adults, I can look at my phone and realize like how many hours I spent a week, and I'm like, oh, that was too much.
And yeah, thinking about the YouTube shorts and the TikToks, these algorithms are so intelligent to know what you like watching, and they're going to start feeding you more and more of that.
Yes, we talked about that
And-
last week.
5 minutes later, it's been an hour.
Yeah, we talked about the danger of that last week, is that if kids watch a certain video and then it feeds it more and more, they were talking about how this can lead to children having depression because they'll watch more and more videos about it because they're interested in it, and then it makes them more and more sad. It's even shown that it causes problems with kids' behaviors and sleep. And this was another reason why, when he was talking about a year ago, we realized like our kids were having some behavioral problems, especially with fighting with one another.
On the days we gave them more technology time,
Yes.
right? More iPads, more Nintendo. You said, well, this is a pretty clear correlation.
Yeah, I didn't believe it at first. But then we started to watch it, and he would really bring it up. Like, look, they've spent way more time on their Switches or the tablet, and look how much they're bickering. And realize, like, it really does cause a problem with them having relationships with other people when they spend a lot of time on social media, because you're on your own little world and not having to deal with other people, and then they don't learn social skills. And so a couple of nights ago, I brought this up at dinner again of why we don't allow them to have cell phones or social media. And there was a story I was telling them about a 13-year-old in Texas went missing and was found like 1,000 miles away in North Carolina. She was kidnapped by a 34-year-old man and was held hostage in a shed, was literally locked inside. The mother came out and said she met this guy through video games, and they had been chatting on Discord. And the mom was just beside herself. It was so sad to watch, because she said we had these conversations with her about the risks of talking to people online, and the girl thought this was someone her age that she was going to be meeting up with, and then it ends up being this 34-year-old man. And that's what I was telling them, is like, this is the risk of being on social media. You think you're talking to, someone your age, and they convince you to meet up, and it seems like no matter how many conversations that parents are having with their kids, they're falling into it. And that's because, if you can remember when you were a kid, you don't have the best ability to make good decisions, and sometimes you can just fall into a rabbit hole, and then before you know it, you've made a really bad decision. And so it's I feel like, too, a lot of burden to put on these young kids, like 9-year-olds and 12-year-olds, to have a cell phone and to have the responsibility to make wise choices when you just don't when you're 9.
Right. No, it's just a lot of exposure that you're giving to them.
Yeah.
It's this window into the world where suddenly any person can contact your child
Yeah.
at any point in the day.
Yeah. I know.
you have to realize what's going on and what the potential is here.
Yeah, because, that mom was really upset, and listening to her talk about it, like, they had the conversation. She's like, she was, really begging parents to stay alert and to look at your kids' phones and social media accounts, and to make sure that they're making wise decisions, because this could happen to you. Because I can't imagine it was a week that she was missing. I can't imagine what that week felt like as a parent, and I'm guessing that if you would have asked her in that week, hey, do you think it was so important that your kid had a cell phone and had the ability to get on the internet and do this? She would have been like, no, I'd rather take it back.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being the cool mom that gives their kid all this stuff. I can't imagine the feeling of not knowing where your child is for an entire week and then finding out this is what happened. And just sick.
And yeah, that's not even worst case scenario.
No.
They were blessed that it ended this way.
Yeah, that's what I was telling our kids, is that many times this is not the ending to the story, it's they never find them. And so reiterating to them, like, you need to be cautious what you're doing on your tablets and on your switches. And even though we think we have them completely locked down, kids are smart and they can find a way, I'm sure. And
I've even put safeguards on our router on the internet coming in our house.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's a longer conversation, but I've set things to where it makes it nearly impossible to find certain websites.
Yeah.
And that's even old technology. I mean, if you have a modern router, you can dictate certain access hours and certain rules for certain devices in your home. You say, well, this is Timmy's iPad. He only gets these websites at this time of day, and shut it off after dark.
Yeah.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
And I think it's the responsible move. Like
Yes.
thinking my employer probably knows more about my online activity than most parents do their children.
Oh, yeah.
How backwards is that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, companies know more about what their employees are doing. Yeah, because a lot of parents, I think we get kind of comfortable, and we think, oh, we've had the conversations and we've told our kids what to do and not to do, and so we get a little relaxed with what they're doing. But I'll just say, like, another story, our kids know, like, we've had the conversations. And someone had downloaded a game, and I was like, what is this game? Because I see that it's being downloaded. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to check it out first, because I always do. And so I open up the game, and the ads were atrocious.
Explicit. Yeah.
I mean, I was just like floored. And here, like, I'm thinking, and I almost was like that day, oh, okay, no big deal. She told me what the game was, and it's not that big a deal. But go with that intuition, because I was like, no, I'm gonna check it out. So played the game, and we played it for quite some time to kind of see, like, more and more what the ads were, and we just couldn't believe it. Like, this is a game geared towards little kids, and they've got explicit ads on there. I was, like, so upset and thinking, like, thank God that I checked it out first. Please check out the games. Sometimes they say they're for this certain age, and you think, like, they're going to be family friendly and age appropriate, but you have no idea what the ads are
No,
on
yes,
my game.
set the passcode required
Yes.
for app downloads.
And just pay attention and play the game yourself. We have played every single game that our kids play, because it freaks me out that they're going to see. And look, I mean, they would have seen, it was not great. It was not even something I wanted to see, and that was an ad on it. So you have no idea.
And
that's
so many of these apps and games provide a communication means. I mean, we were just talking about an online game when we were in high school, that there was a chat function that
Yes.
schools and teachers didn't necessarily know about.
No.
So imagine how much more widespread that's become now. You download a solitaire game, which enables you to chat with other players. Do you want your child exposed to that? That ability of anybody in the world saying anything to them?
Yeah, please check all games if they have chat abilities. We don't even allow that. They already know, like, if there's a game with chatting, it's a no.
Right.
Because we're not doing that. Because you don't know who's on there and who's preying on your kids. And
I think our kids are more okay with it because we've been consistent and explained
yes.
a lot of what we're doing and why we're doing it. But if you're just gonna start implementing some of these things, there's gonna be pushback.
Oh yeah, it's gonna hurt.
And you have to realize that this is what's best for your kid and be a parent.
Yeah, because as of right now, we already see, you know, kids are addicted. So if you all of a sudden say like, well, you're only allowed like this many hours on a screen.
It's a chemical need. Yeah, they're used to this
Yeah.
dopamine hit loop.
Yeah.
When I do this, it's good.
Yeah. And I mean, try it yourself. Like, it's hard to, you know, I've had it where I've like, okay, I'm not going to touch my phone today. And you know what? You think about it a lot. You're like, oh, I could look at Facebook. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. If it's difficult for adults, it's really hard for kids. And so you're going to have to be really firm and very consistent if you decide, well, we're going to start this because it's not going to be fun. Especially if your kids have like a wide access to the internet, because that's going to be tough. I mean, try taking away TikTok from a kid who's used to scrolling for hours.
Oh.
You know, that dopamine is going to be rough. But you do have to stand firm. And we're here tonight to encourage you as a parent that it's okay to be firm and to not let your kids be like all the other kids. I mean, that's not what we're here to do.
Called to be set apart.
That's right. And so you can do this, and we know that it's hard at first, and we had the thing, like we were saying like a year ago, where we were just letting our kids have their Switches and their tablets, and, you know, and then I realized like they're spending too much time on this. Like, I'd be like, go outside, you know, and have some fun. And they'd be like, no, we're gonna play Super Mario. And I was like, oh.
And it's been a pretty noticeable change from then to now.
Yes.
I mean, just kind of the outlook and I don't want to say happiness, but I guess the joy.
Yeah.
You know, they're able to find joy in the things we should be finding joy in, you know,
Yeah.
interacting as a family and being outside and
learning to like entertain themselves too without having to have all of that is so important. And learning that like it's okay to just like sit and do nothing. Like that is a big thing we should all learn.
Still learning that.
We're still learning this. Is it okay to be bored? We've had that conversation a ton. Is like boredom will not kill you.
Nope.
And it's good to find peace and joy in sometimes just sitting. And
I think adults need to learn that just as much. Like if you go to the DMV or the doctor's waiting room or something, I think everyone's face would be on a phone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, at least 90% of the people.
Yeah. And it's definitely, you have to be an example to your kids too. So if you're going to lessen the time that they're on social media, you also have to lessen the time for yourself, because you're not going to just be sitting there doing it in front of their faces. So spend time with your kids.
Right. Yeah, that weakens your message.
Yes. I was realizing it too. Like, I was even like sitting down to watch a movie with the kids, and I'd want to like pull out my phone. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I doing that?
Eye-opening.
It's really eye-opening. I want to spend time with them, quality time with them, and teach them to find new hobbies and things that they can be excited about. You know, our kids have picked up several instruments, and our oldest loves to read. And so I will buy any number of books.
Right.
Like I've told him before, like lots of books. You know, I will do that. If that keeps you from wanting to be in front of a screen, of course. So encourage those kinds of things, and just remember to stand strong. We're standing with you. I would love to see this become a bigger thing. I actually was just seeing something the other day that flip phones are becoming super popular with young people, and I thought that is awesome. Like, that is so cool. They one girl, I saw a video, she said, going along with what you're saying behaviorally, she said her and her group of friends noticed that every time they went out with their cell phones that they could be on social media on, there always ended up being a fight. They didn't have a good time. The end of the night, like upset, talking to guys that they shouldn't. It was really funny. She said as soon as they swapped over to flip phones, she said they were having so much more fun
Wow.
and realizing like how much they had been missing out in relationships and being relational with other people, and that they were just happier. And they didn't need to snap photos and post it on, Instagram or something right away to show people what they're doing all night long. They were just enjoying each other. And so I think we're kind of seeing a little glimpse of this where it's becoming popular to kind of take a break from social media, to get a flip phone. Let's not be so much on these platforms, but let's, have a relationship with one another. And so we wanted to share one last story that people have been talking about like crazy. Mr. Beast is one of the biggest YouTubers in the world right now. He has 146 million subscribers with over 24 billion views.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. I can't imagine. I was kind of floored when I saw that. I will be honest right at the bat. I don't really know who Mr. Beast is. I've heard kids talk about him. Our kids had even seen videos of him and they knew who he was. And so, I he makes like crazy videos, like reading every word in the dictionary. I've seen him like do these challenges where he gives away money, and then he also just recently did. He paid for 1,000 people to be cured of blindness by getting eye surgery. It was some crazy thing. And so that's actually how I first heard about him. And then it was like he's opened restaurants and he's got chocolates that he sells, and he's really like branched out. So he's huge. I mean, even on Twitter, he's got like 19 million followers. It's crazy.
Wow.
Well, Chris Tyson is a good friend of Mr. Beast, and he appears in many of his videos with the challenges that they do. He has come out as transgender, and I guess this has been developing over the months on videos, and you could kind of slowly see like the transition, and then he finally fully came out. And kids were watching that. They were watching that transition happen. Then I saw that his Twitter was completely locked down. I'm just say right now, if you're watching this with kids, maybe this next part isn't the best thing for them to hear when I talk about. But I think this is really important, and I don't really want to like keep words. I want you to hear it so that you know what your kids are watching. So he's locked down his Twitter because he had put up a tweet about how he finds a sexual gratification in a genre of anime called, I hope it's lolly. I don't know, lolly. We'll have it down below. This features animated characters that are young girls and toddlers.
Gosh.
And that's what he's finding enjoyment in. And so that just made me absolutely sick to hear that. And that's on Twitter, where millions of kids are looking at that too. Like, he's saying I get off on this, and they might have went and researched what it was. I about died. And then he was posting out photos of he was married and has a son, and he's transitioned, which I'm sorry, but that is incredibly selfish that you did that to your wife and child, and has been tweeting out pictures of his son in high heels, saying that his son is slaying today. And so I can already see how that's going to be an influence. So I was pretty disgusted by that too, just pushing that on a little bitty toddler and acting like he's slaying and putting a picture of him out for everybody to see. I was upset. So I think this is scary. Tons of kids watch Mr. Beast, and they're watching this entire transition. How many of them are thinking that this is cool to be this way? How many kids searched what lolly was? And so there's not a chance my kids are watching Mr. Beast ever again.
Yeah.
And so he was out there like he's this family-friendly channel, and he gives so much money away to people who need it, and like very charitable. And that makes me even more sick, is you prop it up like it's this family-friendly channel, and then you're going to show someone transitioning into a woman. I don't hate anyone I'm not saying this to like hate on people, but I also don't want people influencing my kids into thinking that they can change their gender. God created them. We know in Psalms 139, verse 13, that he says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and that God knew them even in the depths before they were even a thought, and that he ordains every step. God,
It's
God,
an uncomfortable topic,
yeah.
but I think if you're not talking to your kids about it, someone probably is.
Yep.
So do you want to be the source of truth, or do you want to leave that as an empty vacuum to be filled by someone else?
Who's making it look like it's awesome and amazing to be this way. And he had up a tweet also that was saying, if you mess with trans homies and well, ... with a water gun. So we're also promoting violence. I can't even believe that tweet was able to stay up before he locked his Twitter down. That's disgusting. And he'd actually made that tweet on the same, it was like the morning of when the Nashville shooting happened at that school, when a transgender individual went in and shot people. So that just disgusts me, that he was out there promoting violence. I'm not saying he like correlates to what happened, but there's people who are promoting violence when we disagree with them. And that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I say this to say that you may think that something's family friendly, and it turns out that it's not. We're not gonna let our kids watch someone transition into a woman and act like this is okay, and he thinks it's okay for kids to be able to make that decision and transition, and I'm sure he's gonna heavily promote that. You may say, well, this isn't Mr. Beast, it's Chris Tyson. Well, we've also seen that Mr. Beast is being very supportive of him on Twitter and is upset that people are not being supportive. So he's going along with it, and I just feel so sad for his wife and his child who are going through this. But we just want you to realize that a lot of times you think something's okay. It was a while back that Blue's Clues for toddlers had a pride parade in one of their episodes. This is what they're promoting. I had found a new show for my two youngest, and it was so cute. It was like fire trucks and ambulances and all this stuff. And so, I was 3 episodes in. I had watched with them to make sure this was okay. And all of a sudden, about 3 or 4 episodes in, one of the characters like, here's my 2 moms. And I'm like, oh, gosh, you can't win. And so this is how diligent you have to be, because that's the stuff they sneak in. And it's not even, you think like, oh, I watched the first episode and it was great. Well, it comes later. So we're just here to encourage you to be diligent, stand firm. It's okay to be different. It's okay to not allow your kids to be on social media. It's okay for them not to have cell phones. It's okay for them to just be kids.
Yeah.
And have innocence and not be influenced by others, because that's all social media is being influenced by others and people telling you what kind of lifestyle you should have. And so we just wanted to encourage you in that tonight. And as parents who are really focused on it in our household, we don't want you to feel alone if you're trying to do that in your house. Just know that there's others out there that are doing it, and that you're a parent and you're not there to be their friend or to be cool. You're there to train them up in the way that they should go. And so stand firm in that and do what you think is right and in your parenting. Again, we're not here to make anybody feel bad. Yeah. If you let your kids do that, it's okay. It's what's best for your household. This is what we found is best for our household and has changed who they are and their behaviors and their happiness and joy. And it's so cool seeing them come up with crazy ways to entertain themselves.
Right, yeah. Sometimes they'll go off for an hour or something together, and they'll have created something out of paper and scissors and glue and stuff. And It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Right? Like it shows their imagination and they're building things out of nothing.
Yep.
Like, it's great to see.
Yeah, I've even gone down to the basement, and our entire basement is one giant fort. They love to build those. And so I love seeing that because they go in there, they build it, they make rooms in there, and they, being relational with one another and having fun. And they incorporate the younger too, and it's so cute, and they're going through the little fort. So we just love seeing that. There's other things that our kids should be doing, and that includes being outside. Go outside.
Get dirty.
Get dirty. It's okay to be dirty. There's showers and baths for that.
I think if you have any questions on the technology or the different systems that we've talked about, leave them in the comments. And
yeah,
if you're curious about anything, we can respond and point you in certain directions.
That's right. Yep, we can definitely do that. So leave them in the comments down below. But we've gone on long enough tonight. And so we're going to let you go. But thank you so much for joining us. And again, we just want to remind you that we would love to make the transition over to Rumble. And so go over there and find us, rumble.com. And then you search out On the Narrow Podcast, all one word. And that's where you can find us. And we'll have, links and pictures so you can find it easily. I had someone ask me, is this what the app looks like? And I was like, yes, do it. You can download the app and you can get on there and find some like-minded people. And it's really cool because I was saying last time, it's not like a Republican and Democrat platform. It's just so cool to see free speech happening over there. And so join us, hit that follow button, hit the Rumble button if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, the share button, and leave us a comment down below and we'll get to you. But we just hope that you have a great night, and we hope that this has been encouraging for you as a parent, even a grandparent. Encourage your grandkids to go outside and have fun. This isn't just for parents, but we want to encourage everyone. It's a healthier lifestyle when you live in the real world and not on social media. So don't be discouraged. We know that it's difficult to do this. But thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a good night.